In today's video, I'm going to grade every team's 2021 Major League Baseball trade deadline. That's what I'm going to do in today's video. But before I get into this video, 92% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed, so go ahead and get your life together and hit that subscribe button, turn notifications, and leave a like on this video. Subscribe, turn notifications, and leave a like. And let's go ahead and get into this video. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this video talking about every team's 2021 Major League Baseball trade deadline and grading it. Let's start off with the Cleveland baseball team. They're going to get a C for me for the deadline. I thought that it was a decent trade deadline. They traded Eddie Rosario for basically nothing. I didn't like that trade a bit. Pablo Sandoval later got released. They traded Miles Straw for Phil Maton, which I thought was a pretty good deal. They traded Jordan Luplow for Peyton Battlefield and DJ Johnson. This is an average trade deadline. Like, you didn't do great. You didn't trade Jose Ramirez or anything. You didn't go full sale mode, but it's just right in the middle. For the New York Yankees, they had a big action-packed deadline. This deadline, getting Joey Gallo in exchange for 6 prospects. I wasn't too big on that trade. Anthony Rizzo's been great in his time in New York so far with 2 home runs in 2 games. And Andrew Heaney, I don't think is a great move. I'm going to give them a B+. I thought that they addressed some moves. I thought that Rizzo was a good move. Gallo is not a great move. Neither is Heaney. It's a B+. I like the idea of making moves. But yeah, let's go ahead and head to Seattle for the Mariners. Their trade deadline was confusing as could be, because I just cannot understand this deadline. You trade away Kendall Graveman, who has a 0.80 ERA this year, in exchange for Abraham Toro and Joe Smith. I mean, come on. That's a bad trade. Tyler Anderson, they got him, which is a good trade, getting another guy, another arm. Diego Castillo, they traded for him, so they get a good arm back. But I can't see why you trade Kendall Graveman here, who's been a guy that's been really, really good. And for this team, I'm going to give them a D. I think that it was a not very good trade deadline, and just not one that made a lot of sense to me. For the Rays, they had another very, very much so interesting deadline to me. I thought that theirs was awfully confusing. They go out, make a big move, trade for Nelson Cruz, and then they sell for the rest of the deadline, basically. So here's what they did. They traded, obviously, for Nelson Cruz, which is their big move. Then they trade Diego Castillo. Yes, they traded for Jordan Luplow, but they trade for Diego Castillo and Rich Hill. I didn't think that this was a great trade deadline, especially when Glasnow is needing Tommy John surgery now. I thought that this is a C deadline. Like, it's not a great deadline because you sold more than you did anything at the deadline. I mean, this was the year. I mean, come on. Next up, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays had an action-packed deadline, pretty much so as well, for this Blue Jays team. They traded for Brad Hand, which is going to be a better closer than they've got. Joakim Soria, underrated move. They traded for Jose Barrios in exchange for Austin Martin and Simon Woods Richardson. For this team, I thought that it was a productive deadline. I'm going to give them a B. It doesn't shape up to the Yankees deadline just because they got like 2 superstar-ish players. But the Blue Jays had a very good deadline. Let's head to Miami for the Marlins. The Marlins had a deadline of selling, like has been the theme for a while with the Marlins. That's their theme at the deadline, sell. But they got Khalil Watson, which I think is huge. Well, they didn't get him at the deadline. But basically, it was a trade deadline present, him signing a contract with the Marlins. They traded away John Curtis for Peyton Henry. Adam Duvall for Alex Jackson, which I thought was actually pretty good value. Brian De La Cruz for Yimi Garcia, I thought was a good trade. Starling Marte for Jesus Luzardo, though, was the biggest trade that they made. And I thought if you sold, like, this was exactly what you needed to get from this. And I thought that it was a really good trade deadline for what they were doing at the deadline. I think that it's a B. I think that this was a very good deadline. The St. Louis Cardinals were basically set on their butts the whole deadline, if we're being honest. Like, they did not make any moves. They might have made one. I'm looking here to see their moves, but For the Cardinals, they traded for John Lester for Lane Thomas, which is not a great trade. They traded John Gant for J.A. Happ. Like, it was a really bad trade deadline. Like, the Cardinals blew it at the deadline. Like, you blew Nolan Arenado wanting to be there, too. That's what you possibly did there. And I think that this is a D as well. I think that it's borderline F. Like, this is not a good deadline for a team that still could make a playoff push. The Houston Astros, they traded for Yimi Garcia, Kendall Graveman, and that was about it for their deadline, if I'm not mistaken. I'm still trying to look at their transactions. Oh my gosh. But I'm trying to look at their transactions. So they traded Miles Straw for Phil Maton. They lost that trade, but still, they got Yimi Garcia, like I said, and Kendall Graveman and Rafael Montero. I thought that this was a very productive trade deadline. They knew what they needed to do, and I'm going to give them an A. They knew what they needed to do, and they went out and did it. For the Braves, my favorite team, I'm going to put them in the B as well. I thought that this was a productive trade deadline. You get Eddie Rosario for, like I said, basically nothing. Like, you got him for basically free. You got Adam Duvall for a guy that you're really not using. You got Richard Rodriguez, which was a big deal. Jorge Soler as well. And you actually had a really productive deadline. Richard Rodriguez, Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall, Eddie Rosario. A lot of teams would be really happy with that deadline. And as a Braves fan, I'm pretty happy with that deadline as well. With the Baltimore Orioles, they stayed put at the deadline, honestly. Like, they made just about no moves besides trading Freddie Galvis and Sean Armstrong. Like, there wasn't a lot to trade here. So, I don't know. Maybe we need another tier of just didn't do anything. Did not do anything at 2021 deadline. There we go. All right. I'm going to put the Orioles in the did not do anything at the 2021 MLB trade deadline tier because they honestly did. And the same thing goes for our next team, the Colorado Rockies. Boy, did they have a disastrous trade deadline. This was one to forget. You didn't trade Trevor Story. You didn't trade John Gray. You didn't trade Daniel Bard. They had, I think, the worst trade deadline in all of Major League Baseball. This trade deadline absolutely makes no sense. Trevor Story's not re-signing. He is even confused by the lack of trade. He said, I don't have really anything good to say about the situation and how it unfolded. It's dumb. The Rockies front office has absolutely no sense in themselves, and they had no reason in even being there. Like, this is ridiculous. Not trading Trevor Story, not trading John Gray, not trading anybody is ridiculous. For a team that's rebuilding and does not have a great farm system, horrible deadline. The Tigers, they didn't do a lot at the deadline either. So for the Tigers at the deadline did, like I said, just about nothing but trading Daniel Norris. So they're going to be putting the did not do anything tier. Kansas City Royals, they traded Jorge Soler. That's about it. That actually is it at the deadline for the Royals. They traded him, the package back. They got a decent prospect back in Casey Callage. They traded Danny Duffy, though, for nothing. They traded Danny Duffy for absolutely nothing. Like, you cannot do that. Just trade Danny Duffy, who's been an ace this year, for nothing? No. They, in my opinion, get a D. Like, it was not a good deadline. Not a great deadline. The Brewers, they traded for Eduardo Escobar at the deadline. That was about, and Daniel Norris, that's about the only moves that I can think of straight off my head. Let's see. For the Brewers, they traded for John Curtis as well, which helps. I felt that this was a productive trade deadline for the Brewers. For the Brewers, I'll give it a B. Angels, they did just about nothing at the deadline as well, besides trading Andrew Heaney. They never really do anything at the deadline, honestly. Like it doesn't matter. Whatever. They usually never do anything at the deadline. I think that Andrew Heaney is about the only move. Yeah, Tony Watson. But that's about it. The Angels, they didn't do anything really. Oakland Athletics, they had a big deadline actually. They traded for Starling Marte. They traded for Andrew Chapin. They traded for a couple guys, John Gomes, Josh Harrison from Oakland. And yeah, so I felt that they had a productive deadline, and deadline unlike any really other for the Athletics, I'm going to give them a B. I think that they had a good deadline. The Philadelphia Phillies traded for Kyle Gibson at the deadline, and Ian Kennedy. That was about their only move at the deadline, really. Um, Weirdly, this tier list that I have is saving some of the better teams for last, which is fun. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, the Phillies, it was Kyle Gibson, Ian Kennedy, and Freddie Galvis. That's literally it. So I thought that they had a really good trade deadline. I'm going to give them a B plus. I felt that it was a very good trade deadline, very smart move. Pirates, I mean, they traded Richard Rodriguez and for a not really impressive package. Um, they traded Adam Frazier as well for, I don't remember what the package on Adam Frazier was. There's just so many guys that that were traded at the deadline. Let's look here. The package back in exchange for Adam Frazier was not bad. Yeah, not bad. I remember it now. Not bad. They traded Tyler Anderson as well. They got Michael Chavis, but I mean, not a great deadline. Like it wasn't that impressive to me. Um, but I thought they did pretty good in getting prospects back. I'm going to give them a C. I think that it was decent. Padres, oh, they're winners and losers of the deadline because the Dodgers got Scherzer and Turner, but they also got Adam Frazier. But that's about it. Like, C, it's not a great deadline. Like, you got Adam Frazier, and that's literally it. And, well, Daniel Hudson, too. But, I mean, you're not competing with the Dodgers C. Rangers, this team did a lot of retooling at the deadline. They helped their farm system out a lot with the Gallo trade, getting Josh Smith, Trevor Hauber, those guys, and getting all the prospects that they got back, Spencer Howard, a lot of guys that they got back at the deadline are prospects for this team. So you got Spencer Howard, Kevin Gowdy, and Josh Gesner. And in exchange, you got Trevor Hauber, Josh Smith, Glenn Otto, and Ezekiel Duran. And yeah, they got those guys at the deadline. I thought that this was a pretty productive deadline. They did get fleeced a little bit in the Kyle Gibson trade, especially considering they gave up Hans Kraus as well. D, I think that this was a good deadline. I mean, a decent deadline. You did the right thing by selling players. It's just you maybe should have got that one elite prospect back for Joey Gallo, and Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy kind of got fleeced in that trade. So the Red Sox had a deadline that was pretty good as well. Getting Kyle Schwarber helps. I would have liked if they got another arm, but they didn't. They didn't get another arm at the deadline. They were in talks possibly for a Max Scherzer. They got Austin Davis for Michael Chavis. Hansel Robles, I guess, is that guy, but he's not going to help a ton. I thought that this was a good trade deadline. I think that this is a B deadline for the Red Sox. Giants, wow. This team traded for, obviously, Chris Bryant, which is going to boost their grade a lot. They traded for Chris Bryant, but that was about it for the Giants. They were silent besides that, and they traded for Tony Watson as well. But just getting Chris Bryant in itself, like, is enough to put this team in the A category. Like, you had a really great deadline getting Chris Bryant. Like, any team's happy with that. Dodgers are an A plus, obviously. The highest possible grade that you can get on this tier list. The Dodgers are in. Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. Yes, you have to give up Josiah Gray. Yes, you have to give up Keibert Urias. But who cares when you can get two more superstars on an already stacked team? A plus. Easy. Easy A plus. The Diamondbacks. They traded Eduardo Escobar. That was about it for a team that really sucks this year. So, yeah, for the Diamondbacks, like I said, they traded Soria as well. But, I mean, it's an deadline. I think that it's I think it might be an F. This was a rough one. It was not good. The package for Escobar was not great back. Neither was it for Joakim Soria. I'm going to give it an F. It was a bad deadline. I just did not like this deadline, simple enough. For the Mets, getting Javier Baez, I'm going to give them a B+. I felt that this was a good move, very smart move, to get Javier Baez and Trevor Williams from the Cubs, and that was about it for this team. For the White Sox, you got Craig Kimbrell, you got Ryan Tepper at the deadline. You have to be happy with getting Craig Kimbrell and Ryan Tepper. You didn't even expect that. And Cesar Hernandez, like, you have to be really happy with this trade deadline. I think that this trade deadline is an A. Like, it's an A. I don't think that any team matches the deadline of the Dodgers. But I think a team like the White Sox should get an A. For the Twins, you got a couple really good prospects back in exchange, and you can understand why they accepted the trade for Brias. Getting Austin Martin back and Simon Woods Richardson already starts you off on a good note with me. And getting that basically is their trade deadline besides J. Happ and John Gant and Hansel Robles being traded. And Nelson Cruz, which was a good package as well, getting him back. I totally just forgot about Nelson Cruz for a second. But you traded Nelson Cruz as well. I thought that this was a very good job of getting the prospects back at the deadline. I think that that's a B plus at the deadline. I think that the Twins had a really good deadline. The Cubs, this is an interesting one, obviously, with the Cubs here, because the Cubs sold everybody at the deadline. They said everybody's gone at the deadline. Baez is gone. Bryant's gone. And Marisnik's gone. Craig Kimbrell's gone. And just Ryan Tepper's gone. Andrew Chafin's gone. Everybody's gone. But this team had a good trade deadline. Like, they got Greg Deichmann and Daniel Palencia. They got Alexander Vizcaíno and Kevin Alcantara for Anthony Rizzo. Those were two top 15 prospects in their system. Bailey Horn. They got Nick Madrigal, Cody Hure, Pete Crow Armstrong. They got a little fleeced in the Chris Bryant trade with Alexander Canario and Caleb Killian. But they got a good package back for Baez. I thought that this team did a really good job of getting prospects back. B+. I thought that the Cubs, you can be sad about trading your players that have been there for a while, but like, you still got good packages back for guys that were only on remainder of the year's deals. The Washington Nationals, they did a good job of getting prospects back. Trading Turner and Scherzer, Hurts, and Schwarber for not a lot. And, for a little bit. But I'm going to give this Nationals trade deadline a C. Not great. Reds got Luis Cessa, Justin Wilson, and who else did they get? I remember them getting another arm at the deadline. They got Michael Gibbons. Yeah, that was the one. Michael Gibbons. So, as far as getting bullpen pieces back, good. I'm going to give it a C, B. I'm going to give it a B. So, let's go ahead and go over the tiers. A+, best trade deadlines, the Dodgers. A is the Astros, White Sox, and Giants. B+ is the Yankees, Phillies, Mets, Twins, and Cubs. The B tier is the Blue Jays, Marlins, Brewers, Braves, Athletics, Red Sox, and Reds. At the C tier is the Cleveland Guardians, the Tampa Bay Rays, Pittsburgh Pirates, San Diego Padres and Washington Nationals. The D tier is the Mariners, Cardinals, Royals, and Rangers. And the F tier goes to the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. And, oh my. Actually, let's see. Cardinals are an F. Cardinals are an F too. Cardinals are an F. That's a little too nice. Did not do anything at the deadline. It's going to be the Orioles, Tigers, and Angels. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and turn notifications because, like I said, 92% of you that watch these videos are not subscribed. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn notifications, and leave a like. Thank you for watching, and peace.